All right, welcome into this live. All right. I want to say if you keep choosing emotionally unavailable people, I want you to hear this loud and clear. Okay. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You're not too much. Okay. There's actually a very intelligent reason why your body is making that choice. But if you don't like this choice, you don't like the results of why you keep doing this, there is other options. And I'm going to explain to you, break down to you why you keep doing this. And I'm going to show you what you need to do to help break this pattern. Okay. In this video, I'm going to share three trauma informed, nervous system aware reasons why this pattern keeps happening without shaming you, and then what you can do instead. Okay. If you don't know who I am, my name is Fantanish Atomsa, Fanta for short, and I support high achieving, high performing, over responsible women overcome burnout, recover from trauma, and live a life of joy and pleasure. Okay. I know what it's like to hold everything together and look perfect on the outside, but on the inside, you feel disconnected, tired, and just stuck in survival mode because that was me. That was me for like a decade. And I am a woman who unfortunately experienced some complex early childhood trauma. And I experienced complex PTSD because of it. And I was just on a journey of, figuring out who I was after an identity crisis, after, just like not having any self trust anymore and not trusting other people. So my lack of trust for other people led me into high performing, over functioning, got my degrees, started a successful business, all these beautiful, wonderful things that look great on the outside. And I was in the health and wellness industry. So I knew the talk, like I knew how to talk the talk, but I wasn't truly embodying it. And it really, everything came crumbling down when I lost my business, lost my home, saw the effects that I had on my family, financially, personally. And I was like, how did this happen? I have everything together. How did I let this happen? And the truth was, I wasn't being honest with myself. I wasn't really facing, the truth of where I was emotionally. And it wasn't until I began studying, ancient Kemetic history, ancient Nubian history, really blending this ancient wisdom, right, from a really Afrocentric African history perspective. Also studying traditional Chinese medicine, Japanese healing arts, uh, so many of these things, and all of the things that related to the divine feminine, which was a new concept to me because I'm used to a very patriarchal religion and society. And it wasn't until I became self-actualized and really started to embrace what the divine feminine was and how that could coexist in a healthy way with the divine masculine, that I was able to really come into this calm mom state that I live now. And so, what I teach my women, and I've supported over 1,000 women who were stuck in survival mode, who suffer through burnout, who have stored trauma in their body and don't know how to process it. What I do to help them is three main things. And the first thing that we do is deal with the somatic healing. So, healing the body, right? I'm a trauma informed registered massage therapist. So, I have that health science background. I'm able to move stagnation, pain, lack of range of motion, lack of mobility, able to get that stuck energy out of the body and bring in fresh new energy, right? Help heal the body. So I do that through the somatic healing, right? Energy healing as well as incorporated in that. And I also do it through nervous system regulating. So how do we change our thoughts, change our reality, which we're going to actually go into a lot deeper tonight inside the sanctuary, which I'm really excited about because I love this topic. And then the last thing is the divine feminine. So if we don't know who we are, then we cannot move forward in our lives. We're going to be stuck in the same patterns, stuck in the same cycles, unknowingly, cycles that were passed down to us from our generations, from our mothers, from our grandmothers. And so, if we don't know who we are and where we stand in society and in the divine order of things, then we are going to continue to see ourselves as less than and treat ourselves as less than. And so, this comes down to respect and boundaries and more than that, like actually moving beyond just survival mode into what like feeling safe in joy, feeling safe in pleasure, and reintroducing those things back into our lives. And so the divine feminine, the nervous system regulating, and the somatic healing, so healing the body, these are all things that we do inside the Sacred Lotus Healing Sanctuary just to really help women, again, move out of survival mode into this life of joy and pleasure. And so for tonight's live, if you have been attracting or tolerating emotionally unavailable partners, situationships, or friendships, then this is for you. Okay. And this is not about blaming you. This is about understanding your nervous system. Okay. Rebuilding self trust and then choosing what actually feels safe for you and what you actually want, right? Actually making the choice with clarity. Okay. So, what does it look like when someone is emotionally unavailable? Right. Well, let's start there. So when someone is emotionally unavailable, you're going to get things like hot and cold behavior. So one day they're going to be like, over communicating, super into you. They're showing up, they're, just there being very extra. And that's really hot energy. And then they go super cold. So they're going distant, they're retreating, they're, backing up, they're giving silent treatments, all that sort of stuff. Okay. Another thing is avoidance with commitment and deeper conversations. So anytime there's a conversation about what are the next steps, or what are you looking for, or like holding someone accountable for any sort of harm that they've done, they just cannot handle it. Okay, they're just avoiding all of any serious conversation that has to do with emotions. Okay. Third thing is they only show up when it's convenient. So if this serves them a purpose in their lives, or helping them move forward, or just reach a goal, or whatever the case is, they'll show up. But if it's just for being there for someone else and just pouring energy into someone else, no, they will not be found. Okay. Um, and then the fourth thing is that they make you feel like you have to earn love, right? They're like, you haven't done this for me, or like, why do you expect me to do that for you? Or, like you need to act a certain way, or you need to do this. So it's a very much like gaslighting, projecting behavior, right? And the question isn't just about like, why do I keep choosing them, right? The question is actually around, why does my body believe that love is supposed to feel this way? Right? That closeness is supposed to feel this way. That like love is supposed to feel hard and tough and unavailable. Okay. So, reason number one that we keep choosing emotionally unavailable people is that your nervous system is confusing familiarity with safety. Okay. Your nervous system's number one job is to keep you safe. And what is safety? Safety is simply what's familiar. So anything that you're used to, anything that you've grown up with, anything that you've experienced maybe in your early life, like this is going to feel safe in your nervous system. So anything outside of that is going to feel unsafe. Okay. So let me break that down a little bit more for you. So if you've had an early experience that taught you that love comes with distance, right? You had to prove yourself, you had to earn love. It was inconsistent or like emotionally unpredictable, right? Maybe your parents were emotionally unavailable, or maybe like just physically, they were just, too busy working, trying to make ends meet. Um, Maybe you had a parent who was absent, right? Someone that wasn't in your life, or they were only in your life in a very chaotic way. um Maybe you are used to like seeing divorce or grief, in your community or in your family, so you're just like used to this pattern of loss, so just like not getting close to people because it's a protective mechanism. This all becomes normal to you. Okay. So that's what's normal to you. That's what's safe inside your nervous system. So unconsciously, that is what you're going to keep attracting and seeking out. Okay. So when someone is steady, when someone is actually emotionally present, when someone is available for you, your nervous system is not going to see that as safe. That's actually going to feel like a threat. Okay. It's going to feel like this is too much. Like they're doing too much. I'm overwhelmed. This is unfamiliar, or like something bad is going to happen. Okay. So you start like self sabotaging, or your capacity, right? Your upper limit, it starts getting to be too much, and it's just too much to handle. And you either, you end it, you move away, you back off, and you're just like, no, this is too much. Like they're doing too much. Okay. So here, here's the thing, right? I want to be honest with you, because this is actually something I had to be very honest with myself about and really confront in myself. And I'm being honest because this might be something that you are doing too, and you're just not aware of it. Okay. Sometimes we choose emotionally unavailable people because we are emotionally unavailable. Okay. Because whatever we attract is a reflection of ourselves. Okay. So being around someone who's emotionally unavailable, it actually helps us by avoiding our own feelings. So if they don't want to talk about it, I don't have to talk about it. We don't have to talk about boundaries. We don't have to talk about what triggers us. We don't have to talk about, expectations. We don't have to talk about nothing. So if you're unavailable, then I don't have to face your emotions. You don't have to face mine. We don't have to get into a place that's like it's too suffocating and the emotions feel too big, right? And I we don't have to do that, and I'm comfortable with that. Safety, nervous system safety. Okay. Sometimes you're the one that's actually emotionally unavailable, and that's where you feel comfortable because you don't want to go deep into those big emotions around grief or fear or loneliness or anger or jealousy, resentment, all those things that come up in a relationship. And so being with someone who can't meet you emotionally means that you don't have to actually meet yourself either. So you don't actually have to confront your own emotions. You don't have to actually confront those big feelings within yourself. Okay. So we get into this pattern of denial, of masking, of performance. And that's what feels normal. That's what feels safe because that's what we're used to. Okay. And this is not because you're weak or something's wrong with you. This is your nervous system protecting you. Okay. This is what's normal for you. And you can't just be blaming the other person. Sometimes you got to look at yourself. And I'm going to be honest with you. The biggest change that you're going to see, right? The biggest leap and the biggest just new reality that you're going to see is not when you put that responsibility on someone else. It's actually when you take the responsibility and be like, I'm going to be the one to change. This is what I want for my life. And you start taking those steps. You're going to see the life that you want, the results that you want much faster than waiting on someone else to change. Okay. And that's going to bring me to point two. Point two. Okay. It's actually easier to blame them than to change. Child, I know this one personally. Okay. Take it from someone who is an inner lover girl, who's actually a complete lover girl who loves love and relationships and dating, but keeps attracting people in the past. I don't claim that reality anymore, right? But this is something that I've done in the past is attract people who were emotionally unavailable, who were not, close to what I wanted or needed, and it's just easier to blame them than to actually be the one to change what I was attracting and change what I was choosing, right? Because then if anything falls apart in the relationship, anything falls apart in my life or my health and my finances, I don't have to take any accountability. I can just blame them. So it's easier to blame them, the other person, the other thing, than to change yourself. Okay. And I say that with so much compassion because this was literally me, okay? Like we can't, I'd say these things like we can't get a new car, we can't move into a new house, or we can't, like accomplish this goal together or whatever. We can't start this business together. Whatever the case is, right? We can't better our health. We can't, have this romantic, beautiful relationship because of so and so, right? It's not about them, right? But it's easier to blame them because then we don't have to take accountability ourselves. And so when you're with someone that is emotionally available, the story ends up writing itself. So you end up saying, like, if they would just open up, right? If they would just choose me, show up better for me, treat me better, if they would just communicate more, if they would just make a decision and commit to me and stick to this thing, right? And yes, accountability matters, right? I'm not saying don't hold the other person accountable if they're not showing up the way that they should, right? Talking again back to the nervous system safety and communicating your boundaries and getting into those deep big feelings. But sometimes the dynamic of blaming the other person and not changing yourself, that keeps you in a loop where you don't have to face the scarier question, which is what would I have to change in my life to truly choose myself? Chat, and I tell you that is the most powerful thing that you can do is to flip the mirror and stop pointing it at the other person, but point it at yourself. What do you have to change to truly choose yourself? Okay. Rather than waiting for someone else to choose you, communicate better with you, do all the things that you're asking, you need to learn how to choose yourself. And that will allow you to choose better. Okay. Because choosing emotional availability within yourself, that's going to require you to make some big changes that you might not yet be ready for, right? And this could be like ending, something that you're invested in, whether it's a business, a friendship, or a romantic relationship. Maybe it's going to require you to end that, right? If this required you to change to get the results that you wanted, maybe you have to end something that you were invested in. Okay. Maybe you have to sit in the discomfort, that really uncomfortable feeling of withdrawal, right? From that chase, from constantly being in hot and cold situations. Maybe you actually have to take some time to sit with yourself, right? Rather than being in this hot and cold back and forth toxic situation, right? Negative situation, whether a person, a job, a place, whatever the case is, maybe you need to withdraw and take some space and sit with yourself, but that's going to be too uncomfortable for you, right? So you rather just that job ain't shit, right? It's a job, it's the manager, it's whatever, it's the person, rather than separating and sitting with yourself and being, honest and truthful about the emotions that are coming up and the truth that's coming up. And that was me when the business came crumbling down, right? That I had to really sit with myself for like a full 12 months afterwards, right? And I was like, what happened? And I was distracting myself with so much like overhead costs and staff and taxes and working every day and not really facing the truth of is this really what I want? Right? Do I understand the operations? Do I understand the business? Do I have the right systems in place? Is this the right place for me to actually do this? Right? I was just keeping myself so busy so I didn't have to sit in that silence and face the reality until the reality faced me, whether I liked it or not. Okay. And being emotionally available to yourself, that might look like you having to rebuild your identity, right? You might have to, recreate yourself after a life of or a period of being someone's wife or someone's partner or someone's employee, right? What are you outside of these things? What are you outside of proving yourself or overperforming or fixing or earning love, right? Or outside of whatever titles you have, like who are you outside of that? Can you rebuild an identity outside of this relationship? Right? Rather than just being someone's wife or someone's baby mama or someone's girlfriend. Like you have to rebuild your identity outside of that. And that is what it might take you, right? To get out of the situation. Okay. And I'll be honest, like blame can be such a shield. It's a protective mechanism that we do and we project this on other people and change within ourselves internally. That requires grief, that requires a loss, an internal loss of like, excuse me, what we thought we were, what we thought was going to happen, expectations. So we have to grieve that, but it also takes courage to take that step forward and actually be like, this is not what I want. This is not giving me the results that I want in my life. And then, deciding that you want better. And then it also requires boundaries. So, what am I available for? What am I no longer available for? And what am I actually going to do to take this aligned action in my life? Okay. So this is a question for you. If you stop waiting for them to change, what would you have to do next? And I know that's like one of the hardest questions that you could answer, but it's going to be the most powerful and the most liberating. Okay. Whatever the answer is to that question, that's going to be the pivotal point for you to between your old life and your new life, the life that you feel like you're stuck in and the life that you keep dreaming about every day. And I'm going to tell you a story because this is something that I dealt with a therapist one time in one of my relationships, serious committed relationship. And we were going through couples therapy, right? Like we were, considering marriage and all those things. And we were in couples therapy, and I just couldn't get past this thing that they kept doing. Okay. It was this relationship that they were maintaining with a person that they were saying was a friend, and it bothered me so much. And I was trying to like do everything I could to make them end that relationship. I was driving myself crazy, going through text messages, going through phones, and Lord, I'm so glad I'm not this person anymore because that is such a waste of energy and such a waste of time. If you ever find yourself doing that, pull yourself back immediately. You are doing way too much. Your energy is in the completely wrong place. And again, we're doing this thing of blaming the other person versus taking the accountability and changing ourselves. And so it was clear that they were not going to change, right? But I was like, no, like they have to do this. And my therapist at the time was like, this is the fact. They're gonna continue keeping this relationship. Okay? That's the fact. So that's something you're gonna have to accept. Now what? Now what? Now what are you gonna do? Okay? And that's that question. If you stop waiting for them to change, what would you have to do next? And that just completely switched the ball game for me because rather than waiting for them to see me and to hear me and to choose me and to love me and change because they love me and because something requested, the ball is back in my court. So what am I going to do next? It's either I'm going to accept this friendship, accept this relationship, accept them for who they are, or if it's too much for me, I'm going to go search for something that feels more aligned and more comfortable, and more trustworthy, right? And so that just gave me back so much power. And I promise you it's going to do the same for you. Okay. If you stop waiting for them to change, what would you have to do next? I want you to answer that. And whatever the answer is, that's going to be the pivotal point between, again, your past life and your future life. Okay. Question number 3 of why you keep choosing emotionally unavailable people. Reason number 3 is that you have a lack of clarity. Okay. Your nervous system has not decided yet that it wants something else. Okay. So sometimes the pattern continues because you have not fully decided that you want something different. And you could say in your mind, like, I don't want them to be this way, or I don't want someone that's emotionally unavailable. Why would I ever want that? But you have not yet made the decision, right? You've proven to yourself that if you decide to do something, you can do it. Whether it's get a job, keep a job, get a degree, get a college education, save a certain amount of money, whatever you put your mind to, you know that you can do it. You look around your life and see the proof of it everywhere, but you have not yet decided that you want something different in terms of the type of people that are in your life. Okay. And this is not because you don't deserve it, right? Because of course you deserve people that are healthy and whole and consistent and show up for you, right? But this is because choice feels like a threat when you've been in survival mode. And I did another video on this, and this is like so deep that it's actually going to go over some people's heads. And I understand you might have to watch this a few times, but when you're someone who has actually experienced trauma, and your choice and your autonomy has been taken from you, and boundaries just did not exist, right? And you allow people to cross your boundaries all the time. You have a hard time respecting people's boundaries because you're like, if I can be flexible, you should be flexible. But people have boundaries, right? So when you realize that you actually have choice in life, you don't have to stay in any relationship that you don't feel comfortable in. You don't have to live in any country, any city that you don't want to. You don't have to look any way that you don't like looking. You don't have to speak a way that you don't like speaking. You don't have to literally do anything that you don't want to do. And when you realize you have choice, like that's the most liberating thing. But for some of us, we're not used to choice, okay? Because of survival mode. And choice actually requires you to tolerate different things like disappointment, right? The possibility of being alone for a season. You might not be ready for that, right? Or the vulnerability of asking for what you want and asking for something better. Maybe you like mentally, like in your nervous system, you're not really ready for something more because you're used to this and this just feels comfortable. And you feel like, I'm 35 and over and I have 3 kids, and who's going to want someone like that? Who wouldn't want someone like that? Okay. Who wouldn't want someone like that? That has to be your attitude, and you can literally choose that for yourself. And for many women, especially high capacity caregivers who have capacity for everybody else but themselves, the challenge isn't about desire. It's not about I don't want these things. I absolutely want these things. I want, a healthy, loving relationship. I want, this amount of money in my bank account. I want this sort of body and this sort of health, right? It's not about the desire. The desire is there. We live in the desire all of the time. It's about giving yourself the permission. It's about choosing. Like today in this moment, this I'm gonna mark this. This is gonna be the date where everything shifted. Okay. But some of us are just not ready for that. Okay. Permission to want to love that is actually like steady and safe and reliable and trustworthy, right? Permission to want to be chosen without performing, permission to hold a certain amount of money in your bank account, permission to have a, healthy, fit, beautiful body, permission to look good without any shame associated with it, right? That is, it's a lot for people to handle. It's a lot for people to handle, especially when you're used to hearing that you're not enough, or that, you should be looking a certain way, like you shouldn't be doing too much to look a certain way or attract attention. um, this is all you're gonna get, at this age, at this size, at this many kids. Like you should just be happy with what you get and be humble and grateful, right? For some of us, it's okay. And if that's you, then no, literally no shame, no judgment. But for those who want a different reality and who want to move beyond just desire into manifestation, there is an action that is required, right? There's a choice that's required to be like, I'm not tolerating this anymore. I'm going to wake up and do things differently from now on. And I don't care what my past was. I don't care what the decisions I made was. I don't care who was in my life or how many times I might have crossed my own boundary or self-sabotaged or just been way overgiving. From this point on, I'm choosing something different. And people are going to be upset with you. People are going to be like, wow, you changed. You think you're too good for us, right? And the thing is, they benefit from you serving them. They benefit from you self-abandoning. They benefit from you self-sabotaging. So of course nobody wants you to change, right? But if you want to change, girl, if you're ready to change, if that's what you want, then you can make that decision today and make that possible for yourself. Okay? So here is what I want you to do. Okay? Couple of things really quickly. I want you to practice this week. So, number one, I want you to actually name the pattern without shame. Okay. So, we're not shaming ourselves. We're going to approach it with curiosity and say, my body, for example, my body learned that love equals distance, right? Or love equals, um, just like hiding energy or like low communication or whatever. Okay. Whatever the pattern is that you're noticing, you're just going to name it. And then you're going to track your body's cues. Like every time you're in this situation, what comes up for you, right? If you're having a phone conversation and you know you need to voice something, a boundary, what comes up for you? Is that, tightness? Is that discomfort? Is that racing heart, heavy chest? When you know that like a big emotion needs to be discussed or it needs to be brought to the surface, what comes up for you? Track your body cues around that. Okay. And then from there, that's a sign that something needs to be said or expressed. So from there, I want you to practice a micro boundary. Okay. So this could be something small. This could be a small no. This could be like just a little pause, like I need a little bit of space to think about this. This could be a moment of choosing yourself. Like, you know what? That actually doesn't work for me. Right. Just like communicating that, right? In a way that feels authentic to you. You don't have to fly off the handle and be like super aggressive and things like that. You can actually communicate in a way that, honors your divine feminine and honors your authenticity and your truth. Okay. And then the last thing I want you to do is just choose one standard. So this could be like, I'm only available for connections where communication is consistent. I'm only available for connections that there's reciprocity. I'm only available for connections that, you know, um, that there's truth, that I can express my boundary. My boundaries are respected. Okay, so that's going to be your standard, right? And this is how self trust is built over time. It's rebuilt through one embodied choice at a time. And so if you want help rebuilding your self trust, then I invite you to join us. Okay. Right now, I'm actually live inside the sanctuary. Hi, ladies. Inside the sanctuary after this YouTube call, we're going in and we're going deeper into thought and how to actually change our thoughts, right? The science backed way, how to actually change our frequency, change our thoughts, change what we're available for, embody this new energy, embody a new identity and how to actually apply that into our life starting today and starting every day. You can change your identity and change what you're available for and unavailable for every single day. And how does that start? And how do we do that? And how do we each day take little steps, moment by moment, into the life, into the identity that we desire? So we're going deep into that inside the sanctuary tonight, and we're learning how to feel safe in our body, how to rebuild that self-trust, how to release the shame, get comfortable with boundaries, communicating boundaries, and stop abandoning ourselves in relationships. Okay. And so if you are interested in this, you can join us. Okay. We'd love to have you. There is a description inside the description, or sorry, the links are in the description box where you can click and join us for free, 7 days for free, your first 7 days. And while you're there, you can browse all of our potent masterclasses, our videos, our programs. We have programs in there around like foundational healing, which is like around the body, deeper healing, which is around the nervous system and our thoughts, which this masterclass around thought is going to go in there. We also have our divine feminine energy program where we really connect with our wisdom, our intuition, our beauty, our joy, our pleasure. And I mean pleasure, like we're going into everything, things we cannot get into on YouTube. Okay. Um, and I just launched a new program in there, which is all about longevity, where we are focusing on getting into our healthiest, most regulated body's self. Okay. So we're doing things internally. I'm talking about supplements, herbs, drips, right? Different peptides, those types of things. All the things that we can do to age backwards, keep our cells down to the mitochondrial level, the cellular level, how to become healthy, right? Anti-cancer, anti-inflammatories, supportive cardiovascular um, supports and diets and practices. So we're really getting deep into that inside the sanctuary because I want us to, we've done all the inner work already, and I want us to now live that life, right? Live that life of joy, pleasure, health, and just just goodness, right? Every single day, I want you to wake up looking, feeling, um, looking and feeling amazing from the inside out and just glowing. Okay, for a long time. This is about longevity. Okay. So, how to regulate your hormones, how to release excess weight, all that good stuff, all that good stuff. So, we have this new program inside the sanctuary now. And again, come on in, join free for 7 days. And then you can also take our 5 days to feel safe in your body journey, which is all about boundaries, all about, like micro steps that you can take and yeah, all that good stuff. So come on in, ladies, come on in. And I hope to see you there. And thank you for joining us tonight. And we will be chatting again soon. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Bye.